Every product around you exists because of a plan. Welcome to the Industrial Analyst, where we uncover the strategy behind industry. Today we're going to build a curriculum, a complete mental toolkit designed to help you stop thinking tactically, day to day, and start thinking like a true strategist. We're going to build the skills you need to see that bigger picture and honestly, just make way smarter decisions. So let's dive right in.
You ever wonder about this? It really all starts here. How do some companies just always seem to know what's next? Well, I'll tell you, it's not magic, and it's definitely not luck. Their secret weapon? It's strategy. It's about getting out of that constant loop of just reacting and instead starting to anticipate and even shape the future. And that's the core skill we are unpacking today.
You know, every great journey has to begin with a map. You got to know where you're starting from. And business, that map, it's your supply chain. Before you can even dream about where you're going, you have to really understand where you are right now and how all the pieces connect. Now, I want you to forget the idea of a simple, straight line. That's not how it works anymore. A modern supply chain is this incredibly complex global network. And it's not just about moving boxes from A to B. It's about the flow of information, the flow of cash, and the flow of physical goods. Why does this matter so much? Because if you don't get how your business actually works at this deep, fundamental level, any strategy you try to build is just going to be on shaky ground. So how do we make sense of all that complexity? Well, luckily, we have a common language for it. The industry standard SCORE model breaks down any supply chain you can think of into 6 core processes. It starts with a plan, then you source your materials, you make the product, you deliver it to the customer, you handle any returns, and then, the glue that holds it all together, you enable the whole thing with data and technology. Seriously, from your local coffee shop to a giant car company, every single one performs these 6 functions. And inside that network, things are always flowing in 2 key directions. When you're looking back towards where your stuff comes from, your suppliers, that's looking upstream. And when you're looking forward to the person who actually buys your product, well, you're looking downstream. It's a simple idea, but trust me, it's absolutely critical for the strategic choices we're going to make later.
Okay, so we've got our internal map understood. The very first move of any great strategist is to look up and out. You have to be able to read the environment you're in, because no company, and I mean no company, is an island.
And for this, the PESTLE framework is like our strategic telescope. It forces us to scan the whole macro environment by asking some really important questions, like what's happening with political factors? How are economic conditions looking? What are the big social, cultural trends? And you have to think about disruptive new technology, shifting environmental rules, and new legal frameworks. These are the giant waves out there that can either lift your business up or sink it completely. Right, so after we've scanned that big, broad horizon, we zoom in right into our own neighborhood. And the one question every strategist has to answer is this: in my specific industry, who really holds the cards? To figure that out, we use one of the most famous tools in the entire world of strategy, Michael Porter's 5 Forces. It's a framework for looking at competitive pressure from every single angle. Yeah, you look at your direct rivals, of course, but you also have to consider the threat of new companies entering, the danger of substitute products, and, so critically, the bargaining power of your suppliers and your customers. This analysis literally tells you how tough the game is going to be.
Now that we've looked at the outside world, it's time to turn that same sharp, analytical eye inward. What are you actually working with? What tools do you have in your own company's toolkit?
And a fantastic place to start is with your products. Where are they in their life cycle? Just think about it for a second. The strategy for launching a brand new product in its introduction phase is completely different from the strategy for selling something that's been around for 10 years in its maturity or decline. This simple timeline really dictates everything, from your marketing to your production. Okay, now this is where it all comes together. The classic SWOT analysis is so powerful because it synthesizes everything we've just talked about. It makes you list your internal strengths and weaknesses right beside the external opportunities and threats you just found using PESTLE and Porter's 5 Forces. This is the moment where that big picture really starts to snap into focus. All right, we've done the analysis, we've mapped the terrain, both inside and out. Now comes the moment of truth, actually choosing your path. This is where all that thinking turns into decisive action.
So let's start with the most fundamental strategic question of all. How do you grow? I mean, it can feel like there are a million possibilities, but a really good framework can boil it down to a clear set of choices. And here it is, the Ansoft Matrix. It just so elegantly lays out our 4 main growth options by looking at 2 simple things: your products and your markets. Are they existing or are they new? That gives us 4 clear paths. You can try to penetrate your existing market with your existing products. You could develop new markets for those same products, or you could develop new products for your current market. And the boldest, riskiest move of all? Taking new products to entirely new markets. That's diversification.
So once you've picked the path, the next question is, how do you actually win? This distinction is so important. Order qualifiers are basically the table stakes, the minimum you need just to be in the game. Think safety features in a car. But order winners, those are the reasons a customer picks you instead of the other guy. That's where you have to focus all your energy.
And that focus brings us right back to Porter, who argued that any winning strategy really boils down to one of 3 choices. You can win on cost, like a Walmart. You can win by differentiating your product, making it unique and special, like Apple. Or you can take either of those approaches and apply it to a very specific, focused niche market. The key thing here is you have to choose. You cannot be all things to all people.
You know, a brilliant strategy on a PowerPoint slide is completely worthless if you can't execute it. So the final, and maybe the most important part of this whole curriculum, is about turning that plan into reality. And, crucially, making sure it's actually working.
So, how do you know if you're pulling it off? Well, the balanced scorecard gives you a 360-degree view. It basically says, hey, don't just look at the money. You also have to ask, how do our customers see us? What internal processes do we have to be amazing at? And how are we helping our team learn and grow? It's about measuring what you need for long-term health, not just short-term profit.
And this brings us to a really critical modern question. The very definition of a win has started to change. Successful execution today means a whole lot more than just hitting a profit target.
And this slide right here shows the new gold standard, the triple bottom line. It argues that a truly strategic, sustainable company has to measure its success across 3 dimensions: its social impact on people, its environmental impact on our planet, and of course its economic impact, the profit. This is what winning responsibly looks like now.
If you take away just one single thing from our time today, let it be this powerful quote from Michael Porter. The essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. It's not about doing more. It's about having clarity, making deliberate choices, and having the discipline to say no to all the other distractions.
So there you have it, a whole curriculum for thinking like a strategist. We've gone from building your map to analyzing the world, assessing your own power, and choosing a path to victory. The toolkit is officially in your hands. So the only question left is, what's your first strategic move gonna be?